everyone, this is Dylan, and today I'll be doing a movie review for you guys. So the movie I'm reviewing today is Fresh. Now, Fresh was a movie that I had seen a little bit about during the festival circuits, and then it just randomly popped up on Hulu, and I've been seeing ads for this everywhere. I believe the most I've seen it is on Tinder, which makes a lot of sense, but also it's like kind of disturbing that they're advertising this on dating apps and things like that. But a lot of the thing that is surrounding this movie is Sebastian Stan being in a horror film, which is definitely something that is not quite out of his realm, because he did do the homoerotic movie The Covenant way back in the early 2000s. I did a review of that, and I'll put a little iCard up in the corner to that if you're interested in seeing that. So let's get into what Fresh is about, and I won't be spoiling anything until the end of this video. In Fresh, we are following Noah, who is in her late 20s, possibly early 30s, and she is trying to date. And she's on a dating app, but she's not really finding anybody that's worthwhile. She goes on a couple dates, but they're all for people that basically suck. And she happens to go to the supermarket one night. In the fruit aisle, she meets Steve, who is played by Sebastian Stan, and it's like a little meet cute over some cotton candy grapes. And he's like, "You gotta try these. I need somebody to tell my sister and my niece that they actually taste like cotton candy," so she tastes them. And then Steve kind of asks her for her number, and his reasoning is so that he can tell his sister that he met somebody who actually agrees with him. A couple days later, Steve texts Noah and wants to hang out. She goes to the bar, they have a great time, and that's where, I guess, the relationship kind of starts. And then we don't know exactly how long they've been seeing each other, but Steve suggests that they go on a weekend getaway. And Noah's like, "Yeah, sure." And Noah's friend is like, "No, I don't think you should be doing this." But Noah's like, "Whatever, I'm just gonna go, we're gonna have a good time, and that'll be that." But once they start going on this trip, some weird things start happening, and we get the feeling that Steve may not be who he says he is. And that's where I'm going to leave the synopsis. Now, this movie affected me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it's really weird. I was very uncomfortable and unsettled during the whole movie. I just kind of got this like weird vibe, and then after the movie was over, I was like a little freaked out. But the movie itself is like a horror comedy or a dark comedy, and it's kind of really weird. I thought about it a little bit, and I think that it's the normalcy of the strange and weird things that are happening in this movie. And what I mean by that is, like, there's really strange and weird things going on, but they're all done in this, like, normal-ish type of way. So it's like that dark undertone, and also that it kind of revolves around this, like, dating app life and how some weird things happen on dating apps. And so it really affected me like some type of way, and I don't usually get that way with movies, so it was definitely shocking, and I've definitely been thinking about it quite a bit ever since I watched this. And then, like I said, Sebastian Stan in this movie is really great, and it really is a departure from this kind of like leading man in these comedies, the Marvel movies, and it is quite a departure from that to see him in a role like this, where he's like a nice guy, but he's got a dark secret. It is one of those things where it's like, you were just Bucky in Marvel, and now you're doing Steve. And that's where I'm going to leave the spoiler-free section. This movie benefits from going in as blind as possible, so if you haven't watched the movie yet and you don't want to be spoiled, definitely click off now. If not, stick around for my spoiler review, which is coming up right now. So what this movie is really about is cannibals, which is really interesting. Not at all what I was expecting, and I kind of spoiled it a little bit for myself. I was looking up Daisy Edgar Jones on Wikipedia because I was like, she looks so familiar. And I had to figure out what she had been in before, but I happened to accidentally read a little bit too much of the Wikipedia page, and it said that she got kidnapped. And that was all I had read, so I was like, wow, okay. And then I watched a little bit further, and then 30 minutes into the movie, I was like, the title cards are here. What is going on? And then things start going real downhill real fast when Steve ends up cutting off her buttocks, and that was when I knew something was really crazy with this movie. And this did leave me with a couple lingering questions that I didn't think were explored enough in the movie that I wish were explored. One of them was that he mentions to Noah that the fresher the meat, the better, so that's why he keeps the women alive while he's taking pieces of their body. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, sure. But then when Noah's like, hey, I want to try some human, he goes to a freezer, which is basically like a room full of body parts, and takes one out to give to her. So that's not fresh. So I don't quite understand what the reasoning behind that is, because he could have just went over next door and got some of Penny and cooked up for her, but he went to the freezer, which apparently, according to him, is not very good quality because it's not fresh. I mean, who knows this business model? Maybe he's got some people that pay top dollar for fresh meat, and then he's got some other people who might be a little poor and they pay for frozen meat. I don't know, but that was a lingering question that I had. There was also the question of his wife. That wasn't super explained very well, but we do see that she is missing her leg, so the idea is maybe she was one of his victims who he ended up really liking and became his wife. We don't really know anything about that. We know that she's in on it based off of the end, but we don't know the extent to which she has been in on it. I was also wanting a little bit more explanation as to the logo for the business. It's pretty clear that it's a goat head, and that is a clear sign of Satan. The camera lingered on this goat head quite a few times. It was also placed in this movie several times, but there was no explanation to it. And I mean, I guess technically if you didn't know anything about Satanism, then you might not know what it was referencing, but I thought that it was kind of weird that they didn't do anything to explain it. Also, there was this really weird thing, which, I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't think they intended it this way, and I also don't think it was put in here because of this. But there is a song when the male friend, I forget what his name is coming to save them, and he's in his car, and there's a song on the radio. And the song is called Today by Danny Brown. And let me read you these lyrics, because as soon as I heard this, I was like, I need to check this, because this is a very weird reference if this is in this movie. So the song goes, he listened to the blues in the hood with that Arm & Hammer. And when I heard this song, all I heard was the Arm & Hammer part, and in the actual song, it sounds like they're saying Army Hammer, and the whole allegations that happened with him and what was going on in the theme of this movie, I was like, they did not reference that. That would be insane if they reference that. And I don't think it was an intentional reference, but it's also like this weird Freudian slip kind of thing. And I thought that that was quite interesting, and I didn't know if anybody else caught that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the ending. Once everyone escapes, Molly and Noah and Penny, we get them into the forest where they attack a already beaten Steve and end up killing him, and then his wife comes in and is like, hey, we need to put this body on ice, which I guess is going to say that she's going to sell his body. Not 100% sure what that means. I mean, potentially, if they're Satanists, they could revive him maybe through some Satan stuff, but it wasn't explored enough for it to mean anything. But there was a lot of mention that men are not as tasty as women. So that kind of also defeats the purpose of selling the body, unless they are like, hey, we're just going to say that this is some woman, because they just get the meat. They don't get like full body parts. So I don't know. Well, I guess that's quite interesting. The wife also like starts pretending that she's been a victim all this time to Noah, and then also starts choking Noah, but then Noah takes out the keys and stabs her, and then she dies. So I guess the only person left is like the bodyguard / whoever guy that was taking Steve up to be put on ice. And I could see a lot of people not liking this kind of girl power ending. In my Letterboxd review, all I wrote was, girls get it done, which I thought was kind of funny, but you would only get it if you watch season 2 of Amazon Prime's The Boys. But I thought that was a little bit of a funny thing considering what happened in this movie. But I could see some people not liking that, which, I mean, whatever. I mean, that's what this movie is, so I don't fault it for that at all. So now I want to end this review on my rating of the film, which I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really ended up liking this movie. It might have been slightly too long, but I thought for what it was, I went in blind pretty much, and I was shocked at what actually this movie turned out to be, because I thought it was just a like bad dating movie, but then it turned out to be something that I wasn't expecting, a cannibal movie. But I thought that it was pretty interesting and ended up really liking it. So that is it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Fresh if you watched it, and whether you liked it or you didn't like it and why. And remember, if you're not already subscribed and you'd like to be, please hit that subscribe button down below and give this video a like if you liked it. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day. Bye.